It's an interesting dance. Where did you learn about the DX shop?
What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Daniel Cormier. That's Chael son of Joe P. What's up, dog?
DC, I'm glad you're here. My son is a little bit late to go to school because he found something and he wants to show you. There, show DC what you got.
All right.
What do you got there?
Here's my favorite action figure, and I'm
double-
really surprised because John Jones also has the same thing, but you also, I'm kind of confused.
Appreciate it. Huh? That's the belt. He's making a belt reference, but I think he put you over. It's a little bit confusing. You're his favorite, so I think he put you over. All right. DC, how are you?
You know what's funny about Daryl? He's got a great personality, and he kind of compliments you while insulting you at the same time. It's really it's hard to acquire that talent, but he does it really good, Chael, at a very young age. You're in trouble, my guy.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I notice it too. Like, hey, Thera, was that a good thing? Was that a bad thing? You know, and then his face and his demeanor, I can never really tell if he's working. By the way, a moment ago, you did ask me how I'm doing. I don't know if that was just like a way to start the show or if you were sincere, but I'd like to answer the question because the Oregon Ducks dropped their wrestling program, so I'm a traitor. Even though I'm an alumni, I'm a traitor and I got to go against them. But Phil Knight told them publicly, you have an open checkbook. That's the owner of Nike. Open checkbook. Yep. Do whatever it takes to buy a national championship. I want one of these things before I'm gone. They thought they had done it. They told Uncle Phil, okay. Then we played. Now, we've won both the games, or I should say they have won both of their games. However, they fell from number 3 down to like number 15. They're falling while winning, which does bring me a little bit of an evil pleasure to a program that cut their wrestling team.
That's awesome.
That is how I'm doing. How's Oklahoma State doing, by the way?
Yeah, we're doing good. We won a couple. We won our first 2 games. And look, when you lose to South Alabama last year in week 2, I'm happy to be winning. We got through Arkansas last week and it was close. But Chael, hey, so I get where Thero gets it now because he got it from his dad. He chip off the old block because I never know when you're really being serious with me. But Chael, I know when you were serious, when you were getting ready to fight Anderson Silva. Now, it's very difficult to fight a guy that is considered a sniper. You were a guy that was very specific in your approach. Did you have to change anything as you prepared for Anderson? I'm asking you this because it feels like we have that same type of situation this weekend with Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili, a guy that wants to pressure and use takedowns against a guy that's a tremendous striker.
Daniel, this mistake happens constantly in all forms of training. What I mean, if we were discussing volleyball or tennis, or in this case, fist fighting, the coaches will come in and they will present to you ideas. Okay, when he comes here, you step here, you throw this way, he'll move here, you come over here. And before you know it, you got 5-6 weeks into your training camp, and you haven't done a single thing that you're comfortable with. And you and I know better than anybody. We show respect to our coaches, but whatever we're going to use when those lights are flashing on Saturday, we likely learned about 10 years ago.
Yep.
And I only tell you that because, yeah, there's a lot of things that you could look at with O'Malley. He's very unique and he's very special. But Merab, and the real secret sauce on Merab, it doesn't matter what the opponent does. Merab does the same thing. He controls the octagon. He takes space. He waits for an opening, whether he throws and gets a reaction from you or you throw and he forms a reaction, change elevation, and he blasts you with a double leg. That is his only takedown. That's his number 1 takedown, and he doesn't get frustrated if the first one doesn't work. He understands the first one is just to get close enough to take the second one, and the second one is what sets up the third one, and that's the one I'm going to score with. I tell you that because O'Malley knows that. I feel as though O'Malley, at least from an awareness standpoint, is more aware of what he is getting into than Merab.
You know what's weird about that? You made a great point, right? We all respect the coaches and we want to try to implement what they feel we should do. But sometimes you spend so much time thinking about what the opponent is going to do that you're not worried about self. I think that from Merab Dvalishvili, he has to recognize that for a very long time now, nobody's been able to handle his pace, his pressure, his relentless takedown attacks, and I believe that he needs to use that if he's going to win a victory. Look, he can't possibly think that he's going to be able to just stay out of the way of what Sean O'Malley's throwing. He's got to find a way to take the the advantage of the chances he gets and also just implement his game plan. It's a man that shot over 50 times in 5 rounds. That is not normal. Nobody can shoot that many Chael, when you fought Anderson, you might have took 10 attempts because you scored on 5 of them, right? He took 50 against Petr Yan and never seemed to lose faith in the idea that he was going to ultimately get him to the ground. You know, I love this fight because it gets you thinking on a higher level. So when I'm thinking about this fight, I was thinking, wow, this is a great opportunity to talk to Chael about it because Chael was in the same situation as the wrestler grappler going to fight the striker. So when you were getting prepared, was the danger as big a focus as it seemed to the rest of us on the outside? And what were you doing when you were thinking about staying out of trouble in regards to all the danger that Anderson presented?
Yeah, and I will tell you, like, that's very real. That fear and that anxiety, it makes you sharp. It makes you quick. It causes an urgency. I mean, I remember being on my feet with Anderson and thinking, if he touches me, it's a problem. Anything he does, I've seen guys falling down from jabs. I saw guys get knocked out from elbows. I never knew what was real. I never knew what was a guy that wanted to get to the back versus something that actually put a guy to sleep. It was very difficult, but I did buy into that urgency. And, you know, I really wanted to get my hands on him. And then once I got him there, I wanted to get him down there. I really wanted to keep him down. I didn't want the ref to bring us up because now I'm stuck in that same place where I am fearful or respectful. And I just don't know in terms of Merab. I don't know what it is that O'Malley does and what it is that O'Malley's opponents see. But those opponents are not only struggling to take him down, use Chito Vera. Chito in 25 minutes never attempted. He never one time, talking about Chito, he never one time got comfortable or saw an opening. And there's something that O'Malley does. First off, he's long. Second, he controls range better than anyone in the sport right now. Third, he'll show you an elbow. He'll show you an uppercut, but that stuff's pretty standard. Merab has seen that, but for some reason, when Sean does it, he's getting guys to respect it. And if the work rate of Merab is to decrease, if we don't see those 200 shots you were talking about earlier, it's going to be a big problem for Dvalishvili.
You know what I think? You know, oh my God. You know what? Chael, what? What did you just call him?
Dvalishvili?
Oh my God.
Merab Dvalishvili? What's wrong with that?
That's the greatest pronunciation
Isn't
of his
that
name.
I took the time to learn Zabit Mokhcharyapov, and then he retires from the sport. So, I mean, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do about it.
You keep doing exactly what you're doing. You keep doing exactly what you're doing. Don't change. Please don't ever change.
Really? Okay.
So what makes O'Malley good, and the reason he freezes these guys, Chael, it's this stuff. You know how he's constantly doing this? He's constantly feinting at him. He's always giving them feints with his lead hand. It never stays still. And he's got such a great jab that they anticipate the jab. They anticipate the jab, and then he throws the punches behind it. But because he's always feinting, he never allows for these guys to set their feet and try to get a takedown. Look, Chito Vera, we love him, but he's not the fastest guy. One thing Merab has over Chito Vera is he is more explosive in the way that he approaches his takedowns. So that is one thing that I believe can play to his favor. But, Chael, you said you were worried about Anderson. You said you didn't know what was real. How did you get away from that or get away from that thought? And how will Merab avoid those traps and those dangers? Because he's got a good friend in Aljamain Sterling that ultimately couldn't get Sean down early and then got caught trying to rush whenever it wasn't going as anticipated. How do you think Merab can avoid making those same mistakes?
Well, and one thing about it, when you're talking about Merab, and you're talking about, or the position I played with Anderson, where you got to get a hold of the guy and you really want to get him down, is, Daniel, a lot of times the success versus the failure, we're discussing about 2 to 3 inches. I saw a number of guys failing to take Anderson down, but my hypothesis, what I thought I was seeing is guys were just out of range. They were so scared of getting hit that they would take a shot from too far back, and there's a rule in wrestling, A lot of times we teach it to a kid on his very first day, which is you put your hand straight out. If you can't touch the guy, he's too far away to shoot on.
Far away.
You put your hand out. Yes, if you can touch him, then you can shoot. And that was one thing that I did very different than some other guys with Anderson, where I came out and I would engage. But that was just my simple wrestling trick to make sure, is he within arm's reach? Whether I'm in reach or he's in reach, it's close enough. And I stepped in that fire very well. And I think that was something that Cheeto had a hard time getting going for whatever reason. I think that that's something that Merab is going to have to get through. And partner, we're going to know right away. We're going to know in that very first round. Merab's either going to get to him or not. And he doesn't have to succeed. He doesn't have to get him down. I'm talking about Merab. He just has to be able to get to those positions. If he fails to get those positions in the first 5 minutes, he's not going to find it in the next 20.
No, he won't. It's a matter of how does he close the space. If he can close the space, then he's got an opportunity. Chael, one of the biggest things that people are speaking about, just generally talking to people that I'm talking to about the fight, well, Merab needs to change something. He's got to change his game plan. He cannot fight the way that he did. He's always on a straight line. He cannot do what he did against some of the others. He's going to get hurt like he did against Marlon Moraes. Everybody points to the Moraes fight as what's going to be his demise. But is there value in him changing the game plan? Or is the value in Merab just staying Merab? That's what got him here, right, Chael?
That is definitely what he needs to go to first, right? You got option A, and then you store something away. Maybe you didn't even tell your coaches, but you do play all those scenarios through in your mind. What if something happens? What if I can't get to him? What if he comes out orthodox and I think he's going to come out southpaw? I mean, there's all these different scenarios where you do have some level of a plan for. Let me tell you what Merab said, though, because Merab kind of got asked the same question you just posed to me. Merab was talking about going to Mexico, getting a lot of boxing in, and he was working very hard in that realm, but he did make a comment and saying, if I go and I do too much of this, that is how I'm going to get knocked out. So he really showed that he has a respect, or he really showed that regardless of the hard work or what he got polished up, he doesn't feel he's quite as polished as O'Malley. I like that. I don't think that's a concession by a guy. I think that's him showing. What do you see, DC?
Joe, can I ask you a question?
Please.
How long would it have taken Anderson Silva to be able to stop you from taking him down if you were in a wrestling situation? Or is it impossible?
Very quick. In a pure wrestling situation?
In a wrestling situation, how long would Anderson have to train specifically wrestling to try to at least attempt to not let you throw him to the ground?
Yeah, it would take a period of time. It would take a real period of time.
Merab Dvalishvili will not train enough boxing in a training camp to be able to box Sean O'Malley. But how long would it take Sean O'Malley to keep Merab from taking him down? That is what I think, Chael, we got to understand. And I think Merab recognized it, right? Merab said, I'm doing all this boxing, but that's what's going to get me knocked out. That is so good and such great awareness to know that, man, I know I'm getting better at this, but I know how good this guy is at this. I know that this is where this guy makes his money. But he could be wrestling as much as he wants. He's not going to be able to develop that skill to that level in that training camp. I think fighters do that all the time, Chael. Well, I'm doing a specifically wrestling training camp. And I'm like, well, that's just too late. When I would fight those guys, Chael, and they're like, well, I've been wrestling 2 to 3 days a week. I'm like, well, you're done. Because if you were wrestling 2 to 3 days a week, I've wrestled for 30 years. I've wrestled for 30 years. I'm going to get you to the ground. So Merab recognizing that spending too much time in the boxing was the right idea. And getting back to what he does is where the value in this fight's going to be. Is that going to get him a victory? I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that it gives him the best chance, because now he's going to make O'Malley fight where he wants the fight to take place. Now, that's a great fight. The whole fight card to me is fantastic. But you know another fight that's very intriguing is the third fight from the top. Diego Lopez and Brian Ortega, they're matched up again. They're going to fight. As you know, the last time Brian Ortega got sick during the weight cut, Diego Lopez ultimately ended up fighting against Dan Ige, got a victory, but it was a very tough fight. But what happened the first time was that these guys took this fight on short notice, so there was a little bit of a leeway for Brian Ortega. But as these guys are scheduled again and on the verge of competing, Chael, this fight is different, right? It's not the same fight because now they've had full training camps to prepare themselves.
Yeah, and Daniel, this is like the under-promoted fight of the card. I mean, a lot of people are in your position where they're saying, hey, that's the one I'm really looking forward to. You know, outside the title fights, hey, this one, and this is, you talk about unfinished business. And I got to tell you, on Diego Lopes, he never got credit for this. He did not just change weights on a day's notice. He was in 3 different weight classes in a 24-hour period. He was signed up for 45, of which he'd already gotten 2. He was just waiting.
Yes.
You know, he was one of those guys that went to bed on weight. He was going to suffer through the night and then go to the scale. He agrees
they
at 2
woke
in the
him up
morning
in the middle of the
to
night.
go 155, and ultimately he got into the cage at 165. I mean, I'm just sharing for you, like, he deserves some praise, and I'm almost a conspiracy theorist. Like, does somebody not think that this fight is going to happen? Does somebody think like we're going to get the rug pulled out? Because for some reason, this isn't really that talked about, and I'm with you, man. This is the fight, and you want to talk about Diego Lopez and what a great job he's done, and he has, but to get name recognition over a perennial top contender, a former title challenger in Ortega, like, I really think Lopez needs this match. I really want to see this match. And I know from talking to Ortega's camp, he is more prepared for this contest than they felt perhaps he was for the originally scheduled contest.
Well, yeah, because the first contest was on like 3 weeks' notice, kind of put together because the card lost a fight. UFC 303 was a massive fight card, International Fight Week. They needed one more fight. They put those guys on there. But as you said, Lopez doesn't get credit because Chael. Dan Ige got a lot of credit for taking the fight on 3 hours notice. Dan Ige was in training camp for like 5 weeks, and I love Dan Ige. Diego Lopez got off the couch. 3 weeks later, he fought in that fight. So the guy who ultimately took it on shorter notice was Diego Lopez. He got the job done. Dude's an absolute savage. But Brian Ortega spoke to us at the fighter meeting about the changes he had made in a short period of time. And even the way he got down is very impressive because, as we know, for a while he really struggled with weight. For as close as he got, and for medical to have to pull him, tells you how much that fight meant to him. I think that this fight is going to be very telling as to where Brian Ortega is in his career. Because if you can't beat these young up-and-comers, it becomes difficult to stay where you've lived your entire career. Ortega has lived at the top of the card for as long as we can remember. But if he loses to a guy like Lopez, a guy who's on the run, a guy who's making his way to the top of the division, it becomes a bit of a changing of the guard. But I think that happened in Mexico City. Brian Ortega was supposed to go lose to Yair Rodriguez. He went and he got the job done, and he looked very impressive in doing so. So it's a massive opportunity because with a new champion in Ilya Topuria fighting Max Holloway, Ortega wins his fight, he's going to be right on the short list of guys that can compete for the belt. And for Lopez, the champ has already spoke his name, Chael. That is invaluable for a kid like that who's on the verge of that fight at that event to try and earn himself a championship opportunity. It's a big moment for both of these guys. Now, Chael, why in the world, and you understand the lines a little better than me, Brian Ortega was the favorite going into fight 1. Why is he the underdog now? Why is he the underdog to Lopez when in reality, Lopez didn't look great against Dan Ige? He looked like a guy that was in 3 weight classes in 24 hours. He looked like a guy who didn't know who he was fighting, and he went out there and fought. So why is he the favorite now over Brian Ortega?
And DC, to your point, I remember that International Fight Week, you and I were on a stage. Dustin Poirier had joined us, and we were talking about this with the audience because I felt like the free money being given out that weekend was on Ortega. I couldn't believe how people were looking the other way. To answer your question, though, what has happened within the bettor's mind and the handicapper's mind is they believe that Brian Ortega somewhere lost focus, that he lost discipline. The fact that Ortega didn't show because he didn't feel well, not a big deal. We see that all the time. We're very likely to see that happen with somebody this week. It's part of the business. However, Ortega conceding, I cannot make the weight class. That was the problem. That was the problem people have, because if you weigh more than you're supposed to weigh, the question becomes why? You either ate too much or you did not exercise enough, right? It's calories in versus calories out. And for Ortega, who really has a life of discipline, who we've all been so impressed with the way he runs his life because of discipline, somewhere at least gave the perception that he lost the discipline. And that's why this match is so important. By the way, All the marketing material I've seen from UFC, this is scheduled for featherweight, 145 pounds. I just personally assumed they were fighting at 155. Is it in fact 145? And the winner here is somebody that Ilya could be looking to?
Yes, it's 145. Okay. But that was my next question, right? That was actually my next question. Like, what's the confidence that Ortega is going to be okay with the weight class and with the fight? What's the level of confidence surrounding him as I think he'll make the weight fine, but when a guy misses the weight, you got to kind of ask the question. I think he'll be fine, but what is your level of confidence?
Well, I am as good as the information I've been given, but from speaking to his camp, they have full confidence. They were a little shaky on the last one. It was short notice. They knew that Lopez was a harder fight than a lot of the public knew. They knew that Lopez had power in his hands, but they believed that he could also push deep. That's one of the things that everybody has a real confidence in Ortega to do, which is to put a harder pace on you than any opponent. And any opponent not named Max Holloway, Ortega has done just that. So I'm sharing that they like the time. They said that he's had time to get his weight down. There isn't going to be an issue. This is the Brian Ortega at his best. This is the one that we all think of. That's from the camp, and I know that camps are used to saying that, but I'm just sharing with you, DC, that's not what they said last time. They thought, hey, we need to get our stuff and go home. Go find a Dan Ige. We should have told you this 3 days ago. Our guy isn't ready. They say their guy is ready now.
Yeah, well, confidence comes with preparation, and Brian Ortega seems to have got himself prepared. And because of that, I think we're going to have a really good fight between two tremendous featherweights. I think this fight, Chael, is the perfect fight to put before you get to a trilogy fight in Grasso Shevchenko, and then what is going to be an amazing fight between Merab and Sean O'Malley.
All right, well, and DC, when you talk about experience can lead to confidence, you got to understand when you're talking about Grasso and Shevchenko for the belt, they have been in that octagon for just under 10 rounds. I mean, these gals have punched and kicked and choked at one another for almost an hour, not to mention they train side by side on The Ultimate Fighter. What do you make of this trilogy fight?
You know, it's hard, man. Fighting in the trilogy is tough because there are no questions. You know what's kind of the best thing about fighting, Chael? You talked about it earlier with Anderson, where you said you didn't know what was real, so you guessed it, and maybe you made him bigger than he might have been. What sucks about a trilogy is that there's no more surprises. You know exactly what they're going to do. So you don't almost have that respect of not knowing, because that fear really does make you more aware. It makes you take less chances. It makes you take less risk. It really does make you fight more cautious and then take your opportunities as they come. Once you know what a person has, now you can be a bit reckless at times. I swear, Chael, if I didn't think or if I didn't know after fighting Stipe Miocic the first time that I was so much faster than him, I wouldn't have went so crazy in fight 2 where I just battered and bruised him around the octagon early in the fight, because I figured he's so much slower than me. I'm going to just continue to beat on him for 25 minutes if that's what happens. I didn't know the toughness was going to be as apparent because I knocked him out the first time. And then he showed me. But by that third fight, though, Chael, there is no questions anymore. You know who you're fighting. You know what you're getting. It's just a matter of who's going to implement it better. And that's what's going to happen between these two. Look, the first time, Shevchenko made a massive mistake. And that's not something we would have ever guessed she would have done when she did that spinning back kick. That was one of the craziest things. It never works. Chris Weidman did it against Luke. He got battered and bruised on the ground, got finished the next round. Shevchenko does it, gets choked out. Just so happens, Alexa's in the back of the arena, Chael, practicing for her to throw the spinning kick. Then she gets her and chokes her out. She won't make that mistake again. She didn't make it the second time. The second fight, they fought even. This is as good a fight as we could ever get. But there are no more surprises. There will be no more errant kicks that leads to a submission. There will be no overthrowing right hands. It's all going to be tight because they don't have to guess anymore. They know what's in the octagon in front of them come Saturday night.
And by the way, I mean, Grasso turned out to be a kryptonite for Shevchenko, but DC, and for me lacking another way to say it, is Grasso's skill set just the one that Shevchenko's going to have a problem with? Because frankly, I didn't know Grasso was this good. I don't see anybody else in this division that can touch Shevchenko, and nobody else in this division ever has touched Shevchenko. My point being, if Grasso was to lose, it would look like Shevchenko could still come back in and get the belt. I'm not suggesting she gets the opportunity. What I'm asking you is, Grasso as good as she appears to be, which is better than we all knew 2 years ago, or is it just a style issue?
Well, you know, for Alexa Grasso, the moment she left 115 and she filled out and she went to 125, she was a different fighter. She wasn't depleting herself so completely to get down to 115 that she was able to fight the style of fight that she needed to. And Chael, I think what gives Valentina the problems is the boxing of Alexa Grasso. Alexa isn't very fast. Valentina's faster. She's quicker. Her combinations come quicker. But Alexa does everything the right way, dude. Bang, bang, bang. She's not wasting anything. Hands are always held super high, right where they need to be. They're in the right place. Her kicks come from the right place. She does everything the right way. And she doesn't leave openings for Valentina. We've seen Valentina take advantage of openings that her opponents have given her over all those title defenses in that long championship run she had. This woman doesn't do that. And I think that's why she struggles with her. But yes, I think that Valentina is as good as she was before. I think that just Alexa Grasso is as good, has proven to be better, and does have a style that will always fight Valentina Shevchenko very, very well. I don't know that there will be much separation in this fight again. And if they fought 10 more times, the fights would look the same. Very, very competitive.
Yeah, I agree. Like, one thing that these ladies need to do, I really feel, is bury the hatchet here. Whatever happens, we shake hands and walk away. Otherwise, we're going to just keep playing this game. And Shevchenko, by rumor, I can't confirm this is true, but by rumor, didn't want to do the fight, at least not in Las Vegas and not now. She wanted to do it in Kazakhstan. She made a big argument for that. And as the contender, she wasn't the one that really had that pull, but I'm only sharing, like, the bullet that I was used to seeing that did all this destruction in that octagon was somebody that was hungry and who was not going to be questioned. Now you have somebody questioning her, and she seemed a little bit apprehensive. I could have that wrong, but from the reports I heard, that's what I gathered.
Yeah, initially, it sounded like she didn't want to do it on Mexican Independence Day. I do believe, though, that it will not be as heavily... the crowd won't be as pro-Alexa this time because of the Canelo fight in Vegas, too. I think it's going to be split crowd a little bit. It'll be more of a UFC crowd in the Sphere this weekend, opposed to just like last year was a UFC crowd, but Mexican Independence Day brought in a lot of Hispanics, and it was so loud for all the Hispanic fighters. I feel we'll see that. I just don't know if it'll be like T-Mobile Arena last year. But this fight right here, man, is between the two best female fighters we have in the entire world. And I cannot wait to watch it on Saturday. Chael, before we go, Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson retired last weekend in Denver, Colorado. He walked out there and said his goodbyes. What does DJ walking away mean to you? And what are going to be your best memories of watching Mighty Mouse fight?
Man, that guy was so good. That guy was a video game. Where, he would do stuff. Him, Anthony Pettis, I got to throw John Jones in that category, where they would do things and make it really hard on you and the Rogan and the Annex of the world to tell what are they doing? Because some of it we'd never seen before. I mean, Demetrious, he gets behind, he lifts Ray Borg up, he brings it to, and he spins into an armbar all in motion. Like, you could only design that in Hollywood with a crew and a stunt team. Nobody can actually do that, particularly when they don't need to do it. He was already ahead. He was already going to win the fight. I mean, it was just one of those awesome things where Demetrious would listen. Anything that they said you got to do, whether it was build yourself up or get a fan base or take on the top opponents or finish your fights or be exciting. Like, he checked every single box. Dana White has already announced that he for sure will go into the Hall of Fame. Now, I know that comes as no surprise, but I don't know that there's a lot of guys within one day of their retirement that have the boss come out and make that announcement. Huge praise, but that's how I see him as well, Daniel. I will only see Demetrious as one of the greats ever. 125-pound division does not exist to this day. If it wasn't because of him, he is very meaningful, and I wish him well in the rest of his life.
You know, when he did that, the mouse trap, and then it had a cool name. He called it the mouse trap, where he threw him up in the air and then he armbarred him. I was like, oh my God, what did he just do? It was the craziest thing, because you just can't imagine throwing a guy up in the air and doing that. you know, I remember spending time with DJ when he would come to Fox and talk to us on UFC Tonight. And then I think what spoke the truest to Demetrious Johnson, he left to ONE FC, right? And he finished his career there. We did the best fighters of all time, and he was sitting right up on that stage with us, breaking down fighters because he gets respect. That's one of the things that's the hardest thing in the world to get, Chael, especially when you're dealing with a whole bunch of alpha personalities in a sport, is to be universally respected. Demetrious Johnson is universally respected, not only as the fighter, but as the father, as the husband. He's a great guy that truly does deserve all the credit and accolades and everything that he's going to get in this next phase of his career. And he's a guy that, he's small, Chael, but he don't take no stuff. That big bodybuilding YouTube dude was like, I'll grapple DJ. DJ go submit him. Demetrious will go beat on you. That's what I like about Demetrious Johnson. So many great memories inside the octagon, but he also makes great memories outside the octagon, and he's building a great future for himself. So congratulations, Demetrious Johnson, one of the greatest champions the UFC has ever seen, one of the greatest mixed martial arts fighters of all time, says his farewell. We wanted to give him his flowers on Good Guy, Bad Guy. Chael, that's another show. But Thursday, we're live at the Sphere, bro. Isn't that the best when we get to do these in person?
I love it. And hey, this whole Spear business is working on me. This whole thing that Dana is promoting, that this is going to be the greatest, most stimulating in the history of visual entertainment, it's working. I can't wait. We've been sworn to secrecy on a few things, partner, but can I at least tease, can I at least tell the audience, you have never seen anything like you're going to see at the Spear.
Guys, Thursday, 2 p.m., Chael and I will be at the Sphere, and you guys will get a new episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. Get us wherever you get your podcasts. ESPN Plus, ESPN2, and for Chael Sonnen, I'm Daniel Cormier. Guys, we're here. We're going to the Sphere this weekend. UFC 306 goes down. It's going to be fantastic. Until next time, peace, guys.